Did you know that while Nebbiolo is undoubtedly Piedmont's most famous cultivar, it makes up less than 10% of Piedmont's vineyards? Also, there is the oft-touted theory that it gets its name from the Italian word nebbia, which means fog, because of the regular rolling fog banks that flow through the Piedmont vineyards in autumn. But it's more likely that the grape is named Foggy One because of the thick layer of whitish native yeasts that develop on the skins of the grapes as they ripen. And you might say, Han, what is the relevance? Well, the relevance is that today's Hand Drink Solo Wine video covers the Arcangeli Romulus Nebbiolo 2017 made by winemaker Krieger Visser. The Arcangeli estate is located firmly within the Bot River ward, somewhere between Beaumont Wines and Wildekrans. The estate is owned by Sandro Arcangeli, and at this point it's worth noting that it's almost impossible to say the name Sandro without taking a bit of a run-up first. Sandro is a name that always needs to be said with some level of enthusiasm. Arcangeli's wine range features some fascinating bottles, including a partially skin contact Semillon and an incredible Verdelho. But given that Arcangeli has only 4 hectares of their own vines, winemaker Krieger Visser has to do some off-site sleuth work in order to find fruit for the wines. The fruit for the Romulus Nebbiolo comes from an estate called Dagbreek, which means daybreak, and it's situated near Rawsonville in the Brede River Valley. Dagbreek is owned by a producer called Du Toitskloof, so it should come as no surprise that this is the same estate that provides the fruit for the Du Toitskloof Nebbiolo. And in case you're wondering, yes, Dagbreek features regular rolling fog banks that flow down the river valley. The wine itself is a little bit of a conundrum because winemaker Krieger Visser fermented 100% of the grapes as whole bunches. Now this at first might sound weird because you're essentially adding extra tannins into the fermentation of a grape that is famous for its monstrous tannins. But as it turns out, influential winemakers like Angelo Gaia or Ferdinando Principiano have been performing this practice in Barolo for over a decade. Krieger enigmatically describes the process as fighting tannins with tannins. But there is a general consensus that this only really works if the stems are completely ripe, if the fruit is healthy enough and has been really well sorted. This is all necessary to be able to successfully perform long post-fermentation maceration where polymerization can take place. I've left another link to another video where we talk about polymerization and the chemistry thereof in a little more detail, and also why fruit quality is so important in this instance. When we finally get into the glass, well, we're met by the full-on conundrum-inducing Nebbiolo experience, because you have elements of floral roses and some sweeter lavender, and there's plum fruit and there's cherries. But then alongside that, there's also a smoky, tarry, wild game meat thing going on, all in the same glass. When we take a sip, well, we get that lovely red fruit carrying through, red cherry, even red cherry sherbet, some sweeter red plums. Oh, and the acidity is just keeping my mouth watering as I speak. There's also a fascinating sort of salted orange rind thing going on, kind of like when you have a lemon with your tequila, but with oranges. And then on the tail, there's a darker hint of licorice and even a sort of bitter crushed rose petal flavor. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about because you've never eaten crushed rose petals, well, it's not too late to start. If this is your first Nebbiolo experience, don't multitask. Don't sip on this guy while scrolling on your phone and parenting toddlers. Take some time to focus on what's in the glass, because if you hadn't noted from my descriptions, there's a heck of a lot going on. But if you give it the time to unfold in the glass, the end result is both enlightening and satisfying. Okay, so that's all we have time for today. But if you enjoyed the video, then support us on Patreon and subscribe to the Hand Drink Solo YouTube channel, where we publish at least 6 videos every single month talking about wine science, wine history, unusual cultivars, and some of the rising winemaking stars coming out of the South African winelands.